Hey Deckers, The Witcher 3 got another patch, patch 4.03, and I'll leave the full patch notes in the description below, as they've made some nice improvements. However, they snuck in a bunch of new settings modes, including one for the Steam Deck, even though it's not in the patch notes. Now on the surface, this does look like it's made some great improvements, especially on the coloration and the performance, even managing to push this to 60 frames per second for the most part, and really increasing the responsiveness, when really this is just the pretty much lowest settings that you can get. You can tweak it a little bit, however, it does not look the greatest compared to our previous settings, but it does hold 60 for the most part until you go into town. As you're battling and moving around, we get a few dips, but it does feel a lot more responsive than it did previously, and the frame stutter has pretty much all but gone. Looking back at our previous settings though, where we recommended medium with FSR at 40 Hz, we can see that there has been a bit of a quality bump when we come back to the medium settings in just a second, but it's not as big as a jump as we kind of expected. Back to our recommended settings, we're going to put everything on medium, but motion blur and blur off, depth of field off, and chromatic aberration off, but keep bloom, phrase, and vignetting on. Now we see that 60 frames per second does struggle a lot more, and the power wattage really does start hitting the 28s, plummeting that battery down to less than an hour and a half. And once we come into town, we're down into the 30s and 40s. If you are going to run this at full medium settings, you can drop this down to 30, and you will get up to 2.5 to 3 hours of battery life, and it will be super stable. You can even push this to high, but you will bring that battery back down to around an hour and a half to 2 hours. Medium is definitely a good option here. But if we keep these settings and push it back up to 40 Hz, we don't get a huge amount extra on the power draw, but we do get much smoother frames. You can see that that frame rate is also staying absolutely flat, and we will get between 2 and 2.5 hours battery on a full charge. So 40 Hz with the FSR low with tweaked medium settings is definitely the way to be running this again on Steam Deck. DirectX 12 mode is so much smoother now, frame stutter is all gone, and 40 frames per second will be completely flatline, and you won't see any stuttering issues anymore. So it's great to see this has continued to improve. I really can't see them improving it any further than this at this point, but we will keep an eye on future updates just in case.